Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Abortion Healing Provider webinar. We are so excited to have you join us here today. My name is Amanda Hoff, and I am the Relationship Development Specialist here at Support After Abortion. We are going to be talking about open door abortion healing and how to build successful drop-in style abortion healing groups. One of the best parts of my job is that I get to speak with so many of you providers and learn from you about your challenges that you face, the successes that you're having, to brainstorm ideas with you, and then to get to learn and share that with other providers that I speak to. I'm really excited today because I've invited a few of our amazing providers who are currently offering drop-in support style groups so that we could hear straight from them about the benefits they've seen from it and to learn more about how to expand our abortion healing programs potentially by adding this style of support to our offerings. I have a lot of questions to ask them and so much to learn from them. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists to you. Becky Morales is the Hope Program Director at Real Options San Jose, California. Hi, Becky. And then we have Stephanie Libertor. She is the Director of Recovery Services at Hope and Healing in Canton, Ohio. And last but not least, we have Michelle Shereznik. She is the Client Services Director and After Abortion Support Director at Choices, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Thank you guys so very much for being here and for being willing to share with everyone about what drop-in style support is, what it looks like, and some of the benefits you have seen from adding this to your abortion healing programs. To start with, I want to ask a question to all of you to learn some basic information about the drop-in groups that you're having. How long have you been offering drop-in groups? How regularly do you hold them? And do you offer virtual, in-person, or hybrid drop-in groups? We can start with Becky for that question.
I've been doing it for 7 years. I used to do first and third Thursday, but then it started becoming so fruitful that I started doing every Thursday, and we do it online right now. It used to be in person, but then COVID hit and it went to online. So that's how we do it.
And how long have you been doing that, Becky?
The online?
Or
just in general? The drop-in, 7 years. I've been doing it for 7 years now. I started in 2017, and it's been very successful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And Stephanie?
We launched it right before COVID hit, and then we had 1 or 2 meetings and hit pause because we didn't have that momentum. So we picked it up in 2021. So we've been at it for 3.5 years. We meet in person only on the 3rd Wednesday of every month.
Great. And Michelle?
So I feel like I'm the newbie. We just started it last year, and currently we're on a little bit of a hiatus. One of my facilitators just had a baby, so we are waiting for her to come back, but we've been doing it about a year. We do it in person and hybrid.
Great. Thank you guys so much for sharing that with us. I would love to know what prompted your decision to start offering a drop-in style group to begin with. So where did this idea come from? What made you decide to start offering that? Can you go ahead and start again, Becky?
Sure. It was when I started coming to the Hope program in 2017. Real Options that I worked for, they were doing Forgiven and Set Free. They were really into the Bible studies, and we were doing retreats. I think for 2 years, not one person was going to a Bible study. I remember my boss kept asking me, how many people have registered for a Bible study? 0. And I kept saying that over and over again. And I would talk to women all the time, and they would always say, I need help. And I'd be like, okay, well, I have this Bible study. And they'd be like, they weren't even like Christian, barely. They didn't even know New Testament, Old Testament. They were just broken, and they could barely get out of bed. They were barely coping. And I was asking them to commit to something that they couldn't even do. So I decided, okay, I need to meet them where they're at. So that's when I decided to do a support group, it is faith-based, but we have Muslims, Buddhists, agnostics, and a lot of different people that come. But I just realized that it's hard to commit, so I need to meet them where they're at. And I remember when I did Forgive and Set Free, and those Bible studies are fantastic. There's incredible fruit from them. But I remember I was struggling to get everything together, get my daughter in order, and then I had to drive across town. I also had homework on top of that. It really hit home for me. If I'm struggling to commit and I'm in a good place emotionally, how much more people out there who wanting help, and I'm asking them, it's like asking them to climb Mount Everest, and they've never done it before. I just felt like we were just going in the same vicious cycle. So that's when I decided to do support groups, and that's how I did it.
I hear your heart, and that's definitely our heart here at Support After Abortion as well. It's just to meet people where they're at. And sometimes we have to try something different, right? Or offer different options in order to do that. So that's amazing. Becky, thank you so much for sharing that. Stephanie, what made you decide to start offering the drop-in model of support group?
Well, I found that after women finish a Bible study, they've bared their soul for 8 or 10 weeks and they have tremendous healing, but it's like we're just shooing them out the door. Okay, have a great life. And they needed more. And we do have more here at Hope and Healing. It's not just abortion recovery. So we did have more, and we do offer that with grief support. Unraveled Roots is another offering, healing from their sexual past and so forth. But in terms of just abortion support, they needed more discipleship. So that's my frame with our drop-in group, is just helping them continue to grow, because we're not one and done.
That's right. Healing is a journey. That's so true.
Right.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Michelle, what made you decide to start offering drop-in groups?
So my decision to pitch this was, we were not seeing the number of women that we knew we should be seeing. Kind of echoing what Becky was saying, some of the Bible studies or books just seemed so structured. And I had been through several myself, and there are these really stringent rules. If you miss 2, you're out, right? And so I thought, these women and men need something more flexible, that's less structured, that they can come in and be a part of this group and have some fellowship. But it was also kind of a 2-part thing. Those who were maybe a little intimidated to join a group, I wanted them to see what a group would feel like and get a little flavor for what healing would feel like. And like Stephanie was saying, we're not one and done. For those who had completed a group, we needed some place to continue healing. What happens after 8 weeks? What other curriculum do you have? Where else do we send them? What else do we do? And I wasn't getting any help with that or any answers. So I thought, well, we're just going to make a group up and see how it goes.
That's great. So some different motivations there. What I've heard, you mentioned when we were talking, it can be their first step or their next step. But it sounds like that's similar for all 3 of your programs. Can you elaborate on that concept, that it can be their first step or their next step a little bit, Stephanie?
Well, I realize that not everybody is ready to take that big leap. It's so scary. We've all been there. Maybe she just needs to see that she's not alone, and coming to one of our support meetings would help her. She's going to hear another woman's story at each of our meetings. So she's going to hear that she's not alone. So it could be her first step in that she's never had any kind of healing whatsoever. When we talk about our next step, it could be that she has already completed a study. Maybe she's even done a retreat, and she's there for that continued support, because we talk about subjects that they need more. And there's other things that we struggle with as having abortion in our past, and we need to address those.
Yeah, I think several of you mentioned that it's really great for the people who've gone through healing for those certain times where they might be triggered more around an anniversary date or a birthday date or the holidays. And so this gives them a place that they can come during those harder times. They might not need it ongoing every week, but they might need to come for a few times just to not feel alone, be able to share that with other people that are experiencing the same thing. So I really love that this is so flexible. And that's the idea, the open door. It's you can be first step, next step, ongoing. So I was just really excited when I learned more from you guys about this idea, and so excited for everybody else to get to hear as well. So talking about the formats that you offer your drop-in groups, Becky, I know you said you offer your group virtually. So what do you feel have been the pros and cons of offering it in that format?
You don't have to leave your home, especially in the Bay Area, but all across the United States. We market to a lot of women who are busy with children, and a lot of times they don't have a babysitter, single moms, they can't leave their home. And so that is a huge thing. I also get people from South America, Tennessee, all over. So that is another great thing that I love. There's so much flexibility in that. And I have found doing in person, it's powerful. I feel like doing it online is just as powerful. I know a lot of people are online all day long, and I've heard a few people like, oh, it's Zoom. I can't do Zoom anymore because I'm just sick of it. So let me know when you go in person. I am open to going in person, but I haven't had enough people asking to go in person to start doing it again. That has just been a huge thing for me, is being online. Another thing is when COVID hit, I wasn't planning to go online at all. And someone said, you should do support groups online. And I said, no way, it'll like won't be effective. It'll be weird and disconnected. But I decided to do it. And because everyone else had shut down, their retreats had shut down, no one was doing anything, it started blossoming because people are lonely, they're isolated, all these triggers from their abortion started coming out. And that's when it really started happening, and we haven't gone back since.
Yeah, there's definitely that flexibility, and it can remove some of those barriers, the transportation, childcare, schedules, and those things. Michelle, you mentioned you offer a hybrid option. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that works?
We offer a hybrid for our drop-in groups, just like we do for our regular Save One or Unraveled Roots group. We always offer a hybrid option. We have seen that to be effective in participation. You might want to come one week, but you can't because you have a sick child, or you're running late from work, but you can still participate. Gives you the flexibility to come when you can in person, but sometimes I don't want to be there. Most of the hybrids that we have for our drop-in group are actually local. They're not out of area. So they just use that for flexibility in their own schedule.
Nice. Okay. And Stephanie, I know that you mentioned that you do your drop-in group in person, but you also mentioned when we were talking that your center offers a men's drop-in style group, and that one is virtually. So can you share the reason for the different approaches and the benefits and challenges you've seen?
Right. Well, I'll start with the men. We launched Arrows, our men's ministry, a year ago in August. We had a couple of men and we were meeting for about 6 months, and it just, we didn't have a lot. I know they're out there. It's the problem that all of us are having, trying to get men to come. So as I was collaborating with other centers here in Ohio and beyond, we thought, can we send our guys to you? We had already just made the decision to go online, thinking if we do that, we can work together and begin to grow. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for men to see their need. We're getting a lot better at that. It's growing, it's taking off. So that's the reason for offering that to men online. And it's not a commitment, it's drop-in. They can come 1 month or not. With the ladies, we call ours Women of Worth after abortion support. I have prayed many times about, should we offer an online as well, and have just not felt led to do that. So we're just going to keep on doing that in person, and the benefits are great. I have to say, it's just an amazing community of women that come. Abortion really isolates, right? Because of shame, and it affects friendships and so forth. So having this community is really beautiful. We're seeing some friendships blossom, and I love it. I love the community aspect.
That's wonderful. I think it's great. You just mentioned one of my favorite things to talk about, collaboration. You collaborated with those other centers, and you are accepting referrals for male clients from outside of your area for your men's virtual. So that's wonderful for everybody here to know. I know a lot of people are currently working on building a men's abortion healing, but knowing that there's something like your program that they can refer to is wonderful, because like I've said before, we're all in this together. There's so many people that need healing. And so we have to collaborate if we're going to be able to reach all of them. So I just think that that's wonderful. So this is another question for all of you. What are some common reasons that you are hearing that participants are choosing to do the drop-in group over, say, a more structured healing group? And anybody can jump in, whoever wants to go first.
I realized immediately I'll get really broken women coming in through different people, and I'll be like, okay, you should come to a Rachel's Vineyard retreat, because we do retreats. And do a retreat, I didn't even want to do a retreat when someone offered it to me. I remember thinking, okay, I got to find a segue. What's a segue to get them to the retreats? When I started the support groups, people on my team come regularly. And then other people would come. When people would start coming to the support group, they would get to know other people. And then naturally people talk about the retreats. After going to a support group a few times, then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I'll come to a retreat. It was just building trust after that. And then when they come to the retreat, they know a lot of people already there. They know a lot of the team. They've heard a lot of story. So majority of people who come to a support group end up going to a retreat, about 80 to 90%. So it's a huge success. And then on top of that, after the retreat, just like Stephanie and Michelle were talking about triggers, birthdays, anniversaries, they'll come back to a support group.
I'm glad that you shared about your retreat model and about how it can be scary. It can be scary to go into any kind of structured healing group. I know firsthand, I came to one of your retreats, and one of the only things that was helping to calm my nerves is that I knew you. I had talked to you multiple times. We had developed a relationship over the phone. So I felt a little bit better, but it was still scary for me. And I've gone through a lot of healing. I work for support after abortion. I just was putting myself in that place. Wow, that would be pretty hard if I hadn't met anybody, had no context, and I just signed up blindly for a retreat, right? So I love that this drop-in group is a place where people can make those connections and start talking and meeting other people to feel comfortable, build that trust, so that it's not as scary to go to the retreat, because the retreat was wonderful. It was so powerful and amazing. So yes, I think that's really helpful for any structured healing program, but especially for retreats. Thank you for sharing that. Stephanie, what are some of the common reasons you're hearing participants are saying they're choosing to do a drop-in group over the more structured healing group?
I ultimately would love for them to be in a retreat or a group, but sometimes they're just not ready. So they could be waiting for something, and it could be maybe they just don't intend to ever, and that's okay too, because they're going to get something at the drop-in meeting. Or if they've already finished a group or done a retreat, it's that continued support. So that's why they're there. And I have regulars, I have women that come every month and have been doing so for years, because they're getting education, their growth. There's always something new. There's the community element that meets a need too.
I think what you said about if they're not ready, that is a challenge that I have heard from multiple providers. What do we do for somebody who's not ready for our program? This could be a potential way to serve people who aren't quite ready yet. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Stephanie.
Right.
Michelle, what reasons are you hearing for people choosing the drop-in group over the structured groups that you offer?
I think it's because it's a lighter commitment, right? It's not something you have to do homework for, right? So our group is structured. We have one topic and an facilitator. We map out those topics a year in advance. We're just meeting monthly. They don't have homework. They're not going home and having to fill out a book. If they miss a week, they don't feel like they have to catch up on all this stuff. One of the things that brings them is food, right? I feed them dinner and they come, and I think one of the coolest things is that they get to know each other and they have that fellowship. And like Stephanie was talking about, isolation, those of us who are post-abortive, that you are not looking to make close friends, right? So here they're sitting across from each other, they're sharing a meal before we start talking about hard stuff. And just because they've sat there and had this conversation before and have this fellowship time, they go a little deeper sometimes than even in my groups, because now they're friends, right? They've shared a Diet Coke and a sandwich or spaghetti or something, and now that's my person. You get me? We've seen great healing happen. I do also like to use it for those who've not been in a group to be a feeder program. You see what it's like to be in a group and what types of people would be across the table from you. It's been amazing to us. So we had great growth from that.
That's great, Michelle. And you kind of started into the next topic. I saw a question pop up in the chat, and this was going to be the next question anyway for all of you, is how do you structure each drop-in session? I want to hear from each of you. I've talked to you before, and I know that there are some similar elements, but I'm sure that there are some differences. So Becky, how are your drop-in sessions structured?
Well, I decided to make it as easy as possible because, especially when you're busy, you don't want to be constantly looking for a topic and you don't want to be redundant. So I make it kind of similar to a Celebrate Recovery or AA meeting. We have someone share their reproductive loss story. We give them questions. We do have a team of people with schedule to be a facilitator. You can only share your reproductive loss story if you've attended a Rachel's Vineyard retreat, because we don't want someone to share their story and then not have hope at the end. And I know maybe some of you have been to a support group where you feel kind of down at the end. So we want to give people hope when people are sharing their story. We talk about in detail their abortion story. Then we go into what did you do and what steps did you take? How would you encourage others starting out on their reproductive loss journey? Then we open up to everybody, and we try to make it so they don't ask questions straight to the person, but talk about their own story. We give them about 1 or 2, 3 minutes. As you know, abortion healing is messy in general. So sometimes we have a format and sometimes it goes out the window, but majority of the time we try to keep that format. That's what we do.
That's great. And how do you structure your sessions?
Well, we're in person, so if there's somebody new, we have really great little gift for them. We start out a welcome round, name, and just kind of the way to exhale and be in the moment. We talk about our intentions, like reminding just a statement about why we're here, and then any announcements that we might have if there's something special happening with the group or coming up. And then we have also one woman share her story. And like Becky said, it's always somebody who's come through healing and has that hope, because that's what we want them to picture themselves with, hope. Then I introduce the topic and a little bit of a narrative on that topic, maybe 10 minutes, and then it's a discussion and we go there.
So with yours, we were talking about some of the topics that you covered, and there were some kind of cool things that you've done in your group. Would you share some of those innovative, creative ideas that you've had with us?
Sure. I don't know how detailed you want me to get, or just list topics.
One in particular I thought was super cool, but they were all really cool, but it was the art therapy.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. One of the topics that we do is art therapy. I know an art therapist. She's actually post-abortive as well, and she's a licensed counselor. So she has come 3 different times, once a year, and led our ladies in a really explore art thing, and it's super cool. There's always a great response to that, and I have to cap it off because we're limited on our space. We've done other topics like about anniversary grief and managing triggers. Those are things that always seem to surface. I hear a lot. So we talk about that. We talk about grieving well. What does it look like to grieve? We've talked about different subjects that you would do in a group or in a weekly Bible study, like forgiveness and anger and depression and different things like that, but maybe with a different spin. We've talked about self-care. I have so many, even just restoring joy, because that's something I think many of us might still be working on. How do we restore joy? We've had healing. I want more joy. Tonight's topic is restoring femininity, and I have a guest coming and talking about that. There's so many topics to explore with this.
Those are a lot of really great ideas. Thank you for sharing those.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, how are your sessions for your drop-in groups structured?
Ours are pretty structured as well. We do also like to do a testimony. It's usually whoever is facilitating that night. She introduces herself, shares her testimony, and then she introduces the topic. Same kind of topics that everybody else is doing, a lot of stuff that comes from the book or the books. But a lot of things that we talk about aren't in the books. I like how Stephanie said joy. We talk about that because we talk so much about anger and shame and grief. We talk a lot about grace. So we have specific topics, how to receive grace, how to give grace, how to give yourself a break. That is really something these women struggle with, is grace still isn't for me. Because we have such a blend of those who have gone through and those who have not. It's interesting to see how the conversations just naturally become between them. They start sharing and asking of each other. So it's kind of takes some pressure off the facilitator, because if she's posing the topic well and introducing it well, they just naturally take over the conversation, which has been great. Another thing that has been really important in our group is that testimony as well. We talked about isolation. Now you're looking somebody across the face who's sharing their story, and now you're no longer alone. It's the same thing that happens in when you have structured groups. It's that sweet spot where people just go, I'm connecting with these people. We don't have you have to come a certain number of times. They come when they can, Zoom when they can, and connect when they can. So that part is very, very loosely structured. We also do something a little bit different. If it's somebody who is very timid about coming, we'll let them bring a support person. If it's their mom or their sister, we don't allow children, we allow partners. So we're open to co-ed if they want to bring their partner. That's been really beneficial, especially to women who were very newly aborted, to have their partner with them. And it was great because then he got to hear what she was feeling, and he gleaned information on how to help support her. He also could see that she wasn't a unicorn, right? This was a group of other women who were feeling the same way, and that was encouraging to them.
I love that. And you found that the other participants were comfortable and okay with having the partners or people.
I feel like we've built these silos, like women here, men here. How the thought of that changed is actually in talking with Lisa Mackey at Deeper Still, and her sharing that most of the women who went through that retreat and even went through the weekend I went through said the number one healing for them on that weekend was hearing men's stories and how it impacted them, and being served by men that would serve them in that space. They said that was mind-blowing to them, and that was what just was the icing on the cake to their healing. And so we took that model here and said, we're going to stop building silos, and we're going to start tearing these walls down and seeing what healing looks like for them as a family, as a couple, as a friend, and let's see what that does.
Wow, is definitely a really interesting perspective and a really neat idea. And I'm glad to hear that that's working so well for you. I can definitely see how that could be impactful for the men and women to get to hear each other's stories. So, as fellow providers here may be considering the possibility of adding drop-in groups to the options they offer, do any of you want to share some elements that you find that just are essential for your drop-in group success?
I think collaboration is a huge thing. I think the bigger the support group, even if it's online, I think it's more effective. And I'll tell you why. Because so many women come in and they're scared and they want anonymity. So if you come in a group, you can hide and you can just observe. So the bigger the group, the better. That's me personally. Collaborative, I was able to collaborate with 3 dioceses. Everyone who comes in for confession, a priest is going to say, go to Rachel's Vineyard Retreat, talk to Becky Morales. So that's huge. And a lot of people who are really stuck in doing the Bible studies, I want to do it this way. And I'm like, come on, let's partner together. The bigger we get, the more effective we can be. So that's my thing. I'm just talking to everyone out there. If you're interested in doing support groups, I'd love to do it together with you. I think that's a huge way of us partnering. I know so many women out there just struggling to just have 1, 2, I don't have that problem. I don't want to grow it. And I feel like the more hands open I've been, the more successful our program has been. And that for me has been a big success.
That's wonderful. Michelle, you told me about some collaboration and networking relationships that you've established with therapists in your area. How has that worked out, and how has that benefited the clients that they serve? And also, how has that translated to people being referred into your groups?
I had the opportunity to do several lunch and learns with local therapy offices where they would have me come and share about our post-abortive services specifically. And in every one of my groups so far, at least one person who's been referred by their therapist. So it's building that trust and also being honest with them that what I do is not what they do, right? But they should together, they should marry, right? It is a really important collaboration is your therapy groups, and they love to refer. Also, they have shared with me that their hands are tied in therapy as to what they're allowed to say to a woman or to a man who's post-abortive. That's why they love to pass them for healing to us. And it's been one of my favorite collaborations. And collaborations, I don't want to discount God. There's always this juxtaposition. Are we faith-based, do a study, a non-faith-based study? One of the things I shared with Amanda is in every group, whether it's a faith-based group or a secular group, I ask people to come authentically them. And that really is something that has been productive in our drop-in groups. Everybody is freely able to share, and there has been so much support from that.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. I would love for you guys to share any stories of participants in your drop-in groups and how they have been impacted by the drop-in groups that you offered.
I have tons, but I'll say the one that really highlights me when I first started the support groups. They were good, but it was very discouraging because 1 or 2 people would show up. How I marketed it was I sent emails to every single person probably in the last 10 years that had come to a retreat. So I was probably sending it to about 200 people, give or take. I was so discouraged, and I've been doing it for 2 years. I had this plan where I was going to go through each email, and if no one had responded to my email in 2 years, I'm going to delete their email because I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be one of those people that's constantly emailing and they're not responding. This really young, pretty girl came in and I said, hi. And she said, hi. I'm like, how did you hear about us? And she goes, you've been emailing me for the past 2 years. I work down the street. I decided to come, and I asked her email, and I was shocked because she was the email I was going to delete because I hadn't heard from her. And she came to the support group. She was completely moved, and I invited her to come to a retreat. She came to the retreat. She was just so awesome. She became on the team. Then she started working for Real Options. Then she got into education. I started discipling her. She got saved. Now we're like best friends. And it was all because she came to a support group. She's still on the team. We're very close. She's impacted so many lives from just coming to a support group. And that's where it all started.
That's amazing. Amazing. Stephanie, do you have a story?
I do. I'm going to share 3 quick stories that have to deal with the same woman. When we were launching, part of our PR was sending little press releases to not just the newspapers that are local, but those free newspapers outside of the county. And she saw that in her free newspaper and called me and says, I never even get this paper. I never read it, but she did that day and she came. The thing is, she drives an hour and 15 minutes one way to get here. I tried to connect her with her local pregnancy center, and she said no. She wanted anonymity, which many of them want. This was a whole new world to her. She was going to AA meetings, so she understood recovery, thought that her whole problem was alcohol. And she's like, wow, this is giving me so much more to think about. She's had the same sponsor for a couple of decades. She brought her sponsor with her because she was sharing her story. And they've known each other for so many years. Her sponsor was 88 years old, had shared for the first time within our group that she had had an abortion in the 60s. That was so wild. Most recently, this same client, over the summer, we organized a field trip to Chattanooga, which was awesome, to the National Memorial for the Unborn. As I was talking about that over the months, that, hey, we're doing this, what it is, about the plaque with the baby's name, she was there. After that announcement, we went on and started the topic, and she says, I need to back up to when you were talking about naming the baby. And she goes, I'm still stuck there. Now, she hasn't done a group yet, hasn't done a retreat. And she's like, wow, this really puts it into perspective. But what I love is that we're looking for any movement, right? Any movement toward healing and any growth that really is profound.
Absolutely. Wow. That is amazing. All 3 of those stories in one
person.
You actually got to a question I didn't get to ask about your marketing ideas. So thank you so much for that story.
Sure.
And Michelle, would you like to share a story with us?
Yeah, I'll share a quick one because I'm at a PRC. I had known her prior to her attending this drop-in group. I personally walked with her through 4 of her abortions, coming in for the pregnancy test and then choosing to terminate. And she had one prior when she was younger. And then after her 5th abortion, she agreed to come in and just meet with me. And it was at that time she said, I need something in a drop-in group. It was less scary than a formal group. I even asked her, so tell me what the turnaround here is for you, because I've walked a lot of terminations with you. And she shared, I knew what I was going to do before I got here, but I knew you would be the only one to love me. So she joined our group. And it was so amazing to see how these women came around her. They bought her first Bible. They bought her first devotional. One of them led her to the Lord in prayer. And it happened over a period of time, but they're like besties now. And it was really because the drop-in group was less scary than having to sit in a group where maybe you don't have the same reading level or the same writing skill level. And you can just be accepted for who you are and have people love you, to come back after 5 abortions and just know this is my place for healing. But having something that wasn't so structured just captured her, that she could come, and if she needed to bring a friend, she could bring a friend. And I think she did bring her sister one time with her. That was it. She met the Lord in that drop-in group because of the ladies who, because there wasn't so much structure, you could get to know her. And because there wasn't so much structure, it wasn't me asking the questions or a facilitator guiding the conversation. It was like, we want to know all about you. And that captured her heart.
Wow, that's beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing those stories. I know that's where our hearts are, to see clients find the healing they need. It's so encouraging to hear those stories. So now I want to open it up for questions and answers. You can point your question to a specific panelist or to the group. So Karen, do we have any questions?
We have a ton of questions. The dialogue in the chat was really great. What's super about it too is that in your presentation, ladies, you answered a lot of the questions that were asked, but I've isolated a few that I'd like to throw out there. Michelle, I'm going to direct this to you. The question is, how do you handle confidentiality with Zoom and hybrid meetings, especially when people might show up one week and not be back for 3 weeks later?
The same way we would in person. They sign a confidentiality. We go over group norms. So there's an expectation. It honestly hasn't been a thing for me yet, praise God. But the same confidentiality thing can happen in person too, right? Just because somebody signs something or swears they're not going to say it, it doesn't mean they won't. But we do have them. We know what the group norms are every time we meet, and we do sign a confidentiality clause, whether you're in person or hybrid.
Thank you for that. I'm going to direct this at Becky. You have groups weekly. And somebody asked the question, how do you find the people who are willing to share their testimony, especially when you meet weekly?
It can be hard. I have my months, but what I do is we have very successful retreats, about 6 a year. What I do is when I'm at the retreat, I say, if you'd like to continue your healing, a great way to do that is sharing your story. And we do questions. It brings more control to somebody so they don't feel like they're just talking to them. We give them their questions beforehand. And from there, it's like an interview. So they ask a question, they answer, and it lasts about 20 minutes. That's usually how I do it. Or somebody from my team does it. And by the time I've gone through everyone, then we have another retreat. And then I ask people again.
Thank you for that. Can someone who has not had an abortion lead a group or assist with leading?
Yes. Our Women of Worth drop-in is mostly me, is post-abortive, but with other weekly groups, Bible studies and retreats, absolutely, people can serve if they have not had an abortion.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a couple other questions that I don't think that we talked about at all during this presentation that I find really interesting. What, if any, steps do you take to follow up with participants after they've attended a drop-in? I'll open that to any one of you who reacts first.
One of the things that I do after a group is try to send a quarterly email or text just to check in to see how they're doing, if there's any other resources, if they need a referral to another group. I had just had a referral from another PRC. They had a woman go through theirs and she wanted to try it with somebody else. So, it's that collaboration that we're talking about, but just always checking in until you're confident that they're ready to stand on their own legs, right? But they love those check-ins because you go so deep and it gets so serious, knowing that somebody is still remembering your story and remembering you is really important to continued healing.
Our wonderful panelists were so kind to share their contact information. So if you had a specific question that you wanted to ask Becky, Michelle, or Stephanie, their contact information is there and you can email them. They would love to talk with you. You're also welcome to email me. I love to talk to you guys. Thank you so much. I think that everybody learned so much, not just about drop-in groups, but also some different ideas that they might be able to incorporate into their current offerings as well. Just hearing the benefits, hopefully people might be encouraged to try this idea. Again, thank you to our panelists and thank you all for being here today. We'll see you next month.